Well, it's been my case.
Yeah. And then I'll ask Imogen.
It's been a process of self-discovery. I think that perhaps the key insight, and I connect with what Anna said, was that I didn't need it to be somebody else than myself in order to exercise that leadership and to see how my skills fit into a goal, but also understanding my own limitations then and bringing people that way complement that. And when you understand that in a humble way, you end up bringing lots of people also
Right.
to enable things to happen. But I believe that was the key in that. And I'll just, if I may, Paul, say just something briefly to connect with what Anna said. I believe that's one key insight. We do live in a capitalist world. Capitalism, it's way more spread throughout the globe than democracy. And the key concept behind capitalism has to do with growth and accumulation of capital. The key problem being that's not sustainable with the planet.
Yeah.
How we equate what we understand as livelihoods growing with sustainability of the planet, it's the squaring of the circle we are experimenting now because our business as usual has been driven by growth. There are exercises to try to come like a circular economies, for example, to try to address the sustainability. There are other sources of hope I've seen, for example, from youth. Youth in many places behaving differently, for example, when it comes to consumption. But that brings a question again to growth. What happens with growth? And a third element linked to that in the complexity, artificial intelligence and automatization. When they used to teach us economics way back, economics was capital, labor, and land. And you plug those three, and you created growth. Well, now you plug capital, you don't lose as much labor, more and more, because AI or automatization, so you keep bringing capital, and land is not necessarily more. But that is a model that also can drive inequality. It's not based on labor.
Yeah.
That, I think we need to embrace more openly a discussion and a conversation on that. It brings a lot, in terms of politics, brings a lot fear, which, by the way, is being used in democracies in elections. Fear, not in the right way. We need to look for the answers to those in an empathic way to try to solve. That's a role of leadership, I guess, as well.
That is the role of leadership. Imogen, what was your experience?
I was just trying to think. I think that I'm always trying to think what my leadership is or trying to change it to different situations. I think I'll be doing that forever. But one moment that comes into my head is when we were doing some field work out in India and Bangladesh, and the accessibility of science and what we have in the Western world might not be the same for other people or other countries. So we get research funding. I'm at the University of Plymouth. And we do research that goes into a scientific paper that's in a journal behind a paywall. And then often we don't think enough about the solutions that come afterwards. It's like, here's the science, done. And we need to actually think, okay, we have the science, and how do we connect those people together? How do we connect the dots? And in India and Bangladesh, if we were going out there and saying, okay, you need to stop fishing, you need to build wind farms, you need to do X, Y, Z, and the local population would say, well, we haven't got the money. Where are we getting this potential expertise from? And why are you just putting this on us? Why can't we work together? So for me, it's just being adaptable and always thinking outside the box of what other people are thinking and what their pressures may be as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. If going to a piece of advice very rapidly, if you can give everybody, just think about 2 sentences that you would give to a young person when they ask you for advice, but you're only in the elevator going from 1st floor to 10th floor. So the elevator is moving. Fabio, you want to start, and then we'll just go around.
Young people, all the big revolution or evolution that humanity went through, it always happened through young people. So you have the key. Young people tend not to have an idea of how much power and potential they have. They feel intimidated. But history actually gave, demonstration that they have the key. So this is my encouragement on a quick elevator.
Good.
I think I made this point quite clearly. For me, it's really about understanding the role that you can have, the role that you can play in the system, but also we sort of we've been sort of speaking about some of the things which are wrong, I guess, in the system. Also recognizing what some of the things are which are going well in the system, and celebrating those successes on every level of the leadership. So those, I think, are the two things that I would say: know who you are and how you can contribute, and celebrate and acknowledge where progress is being made.
I would say it can be a very competitive world out there, whether it's for making money or politics or for other reasons, but there's plenty of seats for everyone at the table. So we need to press the elevator buttons for other people to get to the table, not just ourselves.
Good. Get them first in the elevator.
Yeah. Give them a push.
And then push. I agree. Carlos.
If I was in the elevator and there was not enough time, I will advise love and do good. That will be it. Love and do good. And why? Because the world is not going to destroy itself out of love. On the contrary, it's love what is going to save it. What's going to destroy the world is greed, fear, ignorance, and selfishness. But when you put love and love to the others, and I sometimes think that the love I devote, for example, to my son is the best way I can love myself. So as a reflection. So there is a great answer. The planet is not going to destroy itself out of love. On the contrary, it's love what's going to save it. Yeah. And then that shows what do good means. Shows the way. In my experience, the way of love, usually, it's the hardest way, not the easy one. The way of love, usually, it's the one of the hard decisions. But it also gives the inspiration and the strength to walk that way.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So it is about love, if I may say. It is about enrolling the right people in your elevator. It is about empowering the young people to do what they should be doing, and a deep self-knowledge to pursue what you're most passionate about, what you're good at, and hopefully what the world needs in the end. I think that's where we come out. I've been told we have a few questions, time for questions from the audience, if there's any. So I just wanted to see if we can get one or two questions from the audience. Sticking to the topic of leadership. Go ahead. I think there's a microphone that might be easier.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Question for Anna. I have a lot of young people on my team at work. And
hold it a little closer.
Sorry, is that better?
Yeah.
I have a lot of young people on my team at work, and they always feel very frustrated that they're not listened to and that they don't have enough power. And I think they need a lot more articulation about identifying what they can do and how to celebrate those successes, but also knowing their place. Could you be more specific for any young people watching out there today, like within an organization and outside of that, within their own communities, what's like 3 target actions they could do if they want to see change in their company they work at or else outside?
Well, I think the first is to not stop talking about it. So to be vocal and to really articulate what it is that you want changing. I think linked to that would be to really underpin everything, especially in business, underpin what you're trying to get to with data and information and science, but also understanding the other perspective and maybe what are some of the boundaries that people are operating in. So I think sort of being very, very particular and helping people understand why you're asking for certain things, and not just because it's the right thing to do. Because like you said, nobody wants to burn the world. There are sort of constraints that we operate in. That's the second thing. And I think the other thing, and it goes back a little bit to what I was saying about looking at what's already being done, which is working well, is to not give up hope. And to look for the examples that where things are working well, and to really see them as a source of strength, and to use that and take that out there. And the One Young World platform, I mean, we're all sort of linked to One Young World in one way or another, that's a really great way to meet other young leaders, to find that mutual voice, and to find that power and the strength to continue. So getting engaged with activities like One Young World and others, where you really have the chance to bring together what you're doing in a much more broad voice, that's, I think, also one way that you can really take credible action.
Thank you.
Any of the other members add to that?
One thing that we try to do systematically is to encourage young people not to remain alone. And again, so easy to come again with the example of Greta. Greta was alone in front of that Swedish parliament for a while. So we try to identify young people who are motivated and then transform them in leader by saying connect with other people, don't remain alone, and we support them in how to strengthen your youth organization, which can become the next Fridays for Future, or even if from one you become two, it's already an organization. So that is the important thing we try to do, to expand at least from 1 to 2, which is already double.
We have a question from our online listeners, I think. Well, did you?
Hello? Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
works.
Yeah, thank you so much for the panel.
Close.
My question is for actually Paul, President Carlos, and Anna. So for Paul and Anna is how would you advise young people to navigate all the sustainability acronyms and how companies are addressing sustainability and climate change? Because I think that how much companies have become involved with climate change is one of the things that gives me hope as a young person. I started following COP negotiations 10 years ago, and to see how businesses are coming together to create joint action, that's hopeful for me. And then to President Carlos Alvarado, after being in politics for so many years and after being the president, how do you keep your voice so fresh and still so full of love? So it's more of a personal question, actually. But yeah, thank you so much.
How keep your voice so young and fresh, besides love and your 10-year-old? What do you add to that? Thanks for asking.
Well, I don't know. To tell the truth.
Give us the name of the toothpaste.
No, you know what? I am a firm believer that we all have a role to play. And we overestimate a lot the roles, the name of the roles. We love the names of presidents and prime ministers and CEOs, and we love those because they are associated with power. But on the other hand of that is service. And service is not about power. Service is about being humble. It's if you are of service, you're the first one to have to be at service. And the more service you provide, the less somehow free you are because you are attached to others. So I was very, perhaps of my own upbringing of my parents, they emphasized that a lot on me, like that I see service on that and keeping my feet on the ground and not thinking, But I do believe everybody from their role of influence have a role to play. It's not the name of the role what matters, or the power associated to it, is what actually achieves in reality. And we do all have a role to play. That's what matters, to exercise that role.
Yeah, and the obligation of service. I think many will discover that you have what you call the CEOs or the politicians. You have board or formal authority, but ultimately, if you want to move things in the right direction, you need moral authority, and that's far more difficult. And that's probably why we have a deficit of moral leaders. I always say very simply, I was born in the Netherlands a long time ago, but I was fortunate enough to have food at home, so I wasn't stunted like 160 million people. I was fortunate enough to have a bathroom at home, so I didn't have to deal with the issues of open defecation like 1.5 billion people. I was fortunate enough to have education from the Dutch government. 240 million people don't have education. I wouldn't be sitting here if that wasn't provided free. So I always say to people, I won the lottery ticket of life, and I didn't do anything for it, frankly. And that's unfortunately not the case for the 95% of the people that live in the world. So if you're lucky enough to have won that ticket, then I always felt it's your duty or obligation to put yourself to the service of others. And I think that's, what drives us ultimately into hopefully doing the right thing. We'll conclude this wonderful panel. Anna, thanks. Thanks for all of you, in fact, Carlos, Imogen, and then obviously Fabio, for actively sharing your knowledge, being open with your hearts, and generosity with your time, and hopefully of some use to the many young people here and listening in today. Thanks for your time, everybody, and see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
That was really nice.
Ota.